In this video, I'm going to show you a couple new things that you'll need to know to be able to do assignment number 4, drawing the Pokemon stuff. So you just did the robot, and I want to show you a few other things to help prepare you for the next drawing. So you're just going to be drawing this letter E, a C, an 8. You're going to draw like a lightning bolt type shape and then a blobby type shape. So it's pretty easy. You don't need to be too stressed out about it. It's just to help get a little practice before we move on. So I want you to create a new document and make it a web most common size. So File, New. Go to Web, choose Common, name it. You can just name it Practice 4 because it's for assignment 4. And then you only want one artboard, okay? So make sure you just have one. You don't need a whole bunch of them for this. We're just going to use one artboard. And then say Create. So now we have our document. And all right, to do the letter E, so you're just going to get the rectangle tool over here. Click on that and just draw a rectangle. You can fill it with any color you want. So I'm going to go down here and right click and open up my palette. I'll just get a purpley color this time. And make sure that you have a black stroke. So you want to go over here, it says black. So remember from the first lesson, you can either change the color up here in the control strip. You can go over to properties and change that. Or if you have your color tab open, there's a lot of places to change the color. So if you want to use properties, just make sure that you have a stroke of 1 point for all these shapes that we're going to be doing. All right, so now to make a letter E, obviously we have this rectangle, but a letter E also has some pieces cut out of it. So what you want to do is go over here. So just try to picture what an E looks like, and we're going to cut out that top part of the E. Now, you don't need to worry about making your mouse stop at the edge. I want you to actually go over the edge to make sure all of it's cut. Otherwise, you'll leave a little sliver that you don't want. So we're going to drag a rectangle like that. And then obviously the E needs another rectangle. So if you use your imagination, you can see that there's a letter E inside there. We just need to cut out these pieces. Now, if you're not happy with the rectangles that you drew, don't forget you can just click on them and change the shape, make it a little bit wider or more narrow, however you want. So that looks pretty good. I just want to cut out those two pieces. So to do that, I get my top selection tool and I select all of those pieces. So you can either drag a box around all of them, or you can click and hold the shift key to get each one. And once they're all selected, you're going to go down here to this tool called the Shape Builder tool. If you press Shift M on your keyboard, you'll see it. Looks like these circles with a little triangle. So click on that. Now you'll notice that my cursor has a plus next to it, right? And if I hold the Alt key, it has a minus. So without the Alt key, it's plus, and that would mean I want to combine shapes, but I want to subtract shapes. So I'm going to hold the Alt key and then drag the cursor over the shapes that you'll notice if I drag the cursor over certain shapes, they turn kind of grayed out. That means it's going to cut those shapes when I click on it. So I'm going to hold it over that shape and click. I'm going to hold it over this shape and click. I'm going to click on that one and that one. And now you'll see I have the letter E. All right, so let's do a similar thing with the elliptical tool, the ellipse. We're going to draw a letter C. So we're going to draw an ellipse next to that, maybe pretty close to a circle, something like this. Now you'll know the letter C, I want to cut it out. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually make it a letter O and then cut part of it out. So I'm going to get another ellipse and drag it in here. And don't worry about making it perfect because like I said, you can go back to your selection tool and resize it to make it fit inside the other oval. All right, so I'm going to cut this out, this middle piece here. So I need to select both of them, because you can't use the Shape Builder tool unless you have shape selected. Go over here to the Shape Builder tool, and then I have the plus, but I want minus, so I'm going to hold the Alt key, and I'm going to click inside that. And so it removed the center of it. So we have an O, but I want you to draw a letter C. So we need to cut out a piece over here to make a C. So I'm going to go back and get the rectangle tool. I'm going to draw another rectangle. And you just kind of have to use your imagination, imagining what the C looks like if you cut out part of it. So you can change the shape as needed by dragging anywhere in the rectangle. So I think that would make a pretty good C. So I'm going to select those two shapes and go to my shape builder tool, hold the Alt key, and click on all the pieces I want cut. So there's my letter C. All right, now we're going to do number 8. So I'm going to get the ellipse tool. I'm going to draw a couple ellipses. I'm going to get the selection tool to move them around, make them more the shape that I want. All right, so that looks like that will probably be a good start to in number 8. Now I want to combine these two instead of subtracting. So I'm going to select both of them, get my shape builder tool, and this time I'm not going to use the Alt. I want to leave it on plus. And whatever shapes I want to combine, I just keep dragging this over it until it's selecting both of those ovals. So you can see they're both grayed out, so they're selected. I can just let go of my mouse now, and then it turned it into one shape. All right, so now I'm going to draw some more ovals right here to cut out the insides of the number. Don't worry about drawing it perfect at first, because you can always go get your selection tool and resize and reshape your ellipse to make a better hole for the 8. All right, that's good enough. So now I want to select all those shapes and then get my shape builder tool. And once again, this time I'm going to go to the Alt to get the minus, and I'm going to click inside there and inside there. All right, so that's how you use the shape builder tool. You just kind of have to get used to what you imagine things look like by adding and subtracting the shapes to build other shapes. So the next thing that you're going to need to know for the Pokemon assignment is how to use the pen tool. And if you've done Photoshop, we've used it before. It's a little tricky, but once you get used to it, it's a really awesome tool for doing drawing and many things. So let's start off really easy and make just like a lightning bolt. And the way the pen tool works, if you click without dragging, it just makes straight lines. So let's do that first. Make sure that you don't click and drag your mouse, and I'll show you why later, because that makes a curve. So make sure when you click, you're not dragging. So just go click, click, like this, kind of like a connect the dots, and just make a lightning bolt. And try not to drag the mouse, like I said. If you do, delete it and start over again so that you have all straight lines. All right, so we have this lightning bolt now. I want you to take, instead of the top selection tool this time, let's get the second one. It's called the direct selection tool. And what that lets you do is select just one point at a time. So let's say I want to edit my lightning bolt. I can just click and drag on one point at a time. I don't need to select all of them. I want to just drag one point at a time. So practice drawing a lightning bolt with the pen tool, using the direct selection tool to move one point at a time. And then the very last thing I want you to practice with is drawing curves with the pen tool. And that's the tricky part on using the pen tool. It's easy to draw straight things. Curvy things, it takes a lot of practice. So for this, at the bottom, I want you to draw just a curvy blob, just practice. It doesn't have to look like anything. To do a curve, instead of clicking and letting go, you're going to click and drag, and you'll see it makes these handles come out. So don't do anything really big, just kind of keep it small for now. Click and drag, and then now you'll see when I go to move for my next point, it's showing me that it's going to make it curved because I have those handles. So just click and drag, click and drag. Just make a bunch of these curvy lines just by clicking and dragging. You don't have to make it, whoa, you don't have to make it look like anything. So just click and drag and make this curvy blob shape. And then when you're done, make sure that you close the path. Okay, this is called a path. When you get near the end, see how it gives me that little circle on my cursor? That means you're ready to close it. And you definitely want to do that when you're done. If you just click here, it's going to keep drawing lines until you close it. So let's close it. There. All right, now I'm going to show you how to edit those curves. So we use the direct selection tool to change the lightning bolt. You can do the same thing on the curve. So let's get that. It's the second selection tool, and you can click on points and move them. So practice moving some of your points around, and you can drag these handles. So notice how when I click on this handle, I can rotate the curve, I can completely change it, I can stretch it out and make it bigger. So just practice playing around with those handles. Doesn't have to look like anything specific yet. It just is getting used to how it works. All right. So that's all you need to do for this exercise. Just practice using the shape builder tool to make an E. Use some ellipses combined to make a letter O, and then chop off part of it with a rectangle to make a C. Do an 8 by combining 2 ellipses and then cutting out with 2 more, and just get the pen tool and draw a lightning bolt and practice the direct selection tool, and then practice doing some curves with the pen tool. Okay, and then when you're done, you can save it. We've already named it, so we can just go ahead and save it as an AI Adobe Illustrator file. And then to put it on your Google Slide portfolio so I can grade it, just go to File, Export, Export As, and choose JPEG. All right, and upload both of those to, leave all the default settings by the way on that export. Save that as a JPEG and then put it on your Google Slide portfolio. When you don't need to turn it in until you do your Pokemon assignment, which is assignment number 4. So you can just place that on the same slide so I can grade that.